Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that this week might as well be titled And Then There Were Two. My name is Tosin, I am the host, and I am based up in the middle of the United Kingdom in a place called Bromsgrove. And joining me, as always, on the Isle of Wight is Sharon Bollen.
Hello.
And nobody else. Because we have been beset by that. Yeah, we've been beset by that thing called life, where just keeps doing its own thing, and it ignores the fact that you have a podcast to record. So you have people being busy, you have people being poorly. Either way, it's just the two of us. But it's okay. It's okay. We've done these before, Sharon. We can make this work.
We've done our two-handers before.
Yes, we can make this work. So, obviously, this is a podcast called Netflix vs. Cinema, and as it says on the tin, we go to the cinema every week and see a couple of things, rate them out of 5. We stay at home, we see a couple of things, rate them out of 5, and we see where money has been better spent this week. I have a feeling that this week it's not even going to be close as to where money was better spent. I have a sneaky feeling, but we have a weird thing this week where it turns out that I am the cinema correspondent this week because I have seen things in cinema, and Sharon has seen, or you saw something in cinema, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Already reviewed, though. I did see September 5, but we have already published our review of that.
Yes, we reviewed that last week. We reviewed September 5
and I
last week.
shared your views on it, so there's not much to add.
All right, cool. Okay, maybe we'll I'll tell you what, if we have any time at the end, I'll just let you massage my ego by saying, yes, Tosin, you were right about everything. So in the cinema this week, I saw Love Hurts, the Ki Hu Kwan action movie, and I saw a preview of a film called Heart's Eyes that, as we're recording this thing on Wednesday, a couple of days before Valentine's Day. Heart's Eyes is releasing on Valentine's Day, and it will become obvious why they've chosen to do that. It will become obvious why they've chosen to do that when we get to that review. And you at home, you have seen...
I have seen on Netflix. No, was it not on Netflix, was it? I can't remember what I saw.
It's on Prime Video.
I saw Elevation, which is a new Anthony Mackie film. And on a Prime add-on, I have seen Earth Abides, which is on the MGM add-on to your Prime viewing.
You know, I think Sharon, this I have to go back and look at the actual figures, but I think you are our new streaming platform person. Because every time a new streaming platform comes out, you're the one who actually goes and dips your toes in the waters and goes, oh yeah, I saw this on it. Because I remember you were watching Harlots, and I think that was...
Yes.
Yeah, man, I said that really Harlots, like I was saying shallots, so Harlots.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's in my head. But you were watching that. I think that was on Stars Play, which was another one of those Prime add-ons, and you went and did that. You went and got some stuff on Paramount Plus.
I fit around.
Yeah. Oh, this is what MGM Plus you said.
MGM Plus, yeah, which is one of the add-ons. I got the free trial, and I think I normally get the free trial, and then if there's something I like, I'll pay for 1 month subscription, then cancel it. And so I sort of have a look about. And often if you cancel it after the free trial, they say, are you sure you don't want to stay for $2.99 a month or something? So well, I tend to go in and have a look about and then clear off again.
You're like, $2.99? Well, when you put it that way, yes. I mean, which is how I started my Netflix membership. Ooh. Oh my God. It's close to 15 years ago.
Golly. Well, I was Love Film. I used to get the Love Film videos before Netflix took over, and then because obviously they used to send you in the post one a week or whatever.
Yes. I had those as well.
10 films on, and then you always put the new releases on, and you never got the new releases for weeks. You never ever got a new release. And then you've got what to film, and you post it back thinking, maybe next time and normally it's the oldest thing on your list, like how you would put like a series on there.
That nobody else wants.
Yeah, no one else wanted. And I'd always get those, and I'd get like the whole series, boom, 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 boom. And then I might get a film.
I think there was once when I did. I think there was once when I did that with with the DVDs. I'm pretty sure it was Love Film. Because it was only Love Film that I know that's how Netflix started in the States, but Netflix never did that here. I think it was Love Film that did that over here, that before they got taken over by Amazon. And I remember getting a series, and I think I got the series out of order, where I got like episodes 5, 6, 7, 8 before I got episodes 1, 2, 3,
Oh
4
no.
or something. Yeah, I think it was something like that. So it was a case of well, okay, but and there were ways I went about making sure I watched it in order. But I will not
Yeah,
say that in case it might implicate me.
exactly.
One of the things that might implicate me. So okay, so you saw Earth Abides, and when we get to the
Edified.
yeah, when
Yeah.
you get to the review, you can tell me what it was about this that made you go, I'm going to break my MGM plus duck with this. Yeah, okay, and in cinema, I saw Love Hurts, Heart Size. I think I said that already. Okay, let's kick off in cinema as is our usual way. We usually start off in cinema, and I'm going to kick off with Love Hurts. And before I say anything about any of the films I saw in cinema this week, I put out a tweet on a Netflix versus cinema account in which I said, my viewing experience this week has proven without a shadow of a doubt that the January Oscar quality bump is well and truly over. Because the BAFTAs are this weekend. The BAFTAs
Yeah.
are this weekend. So any film that wanted to be like, oh, wait, cinemas, go watch us, we were nominated for an award, has been and gone. The Oscars are like the week after, I think, or something like that. So they don't
Yeah,
care
they're normally
anymore.
both February now, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. So they've gotten out of, so they've gotten that all of the way, and so now what we have is we have the other stuff that comes out that isn't trying to be prestige or, in some cases, even good. So in cinema this week, don't expect great things. That's what I'm going to say, and as I'm gonna kick off with the film Love Hurts. So this is a film that starts off, and the premise of this film, when I even heard this film before, about the premise before I watched it, the premise of this film straight away made me think of A History of Violence. And if you've seen A History of Violence, you know what
Yes.
the premise of this film is. So you're introduced to this guy, played by Ki Hugh Kwan, who is called Marvin Gable. He's called Marvin Gable. He's a realtor. He sells houses. When you see him at the beginning, he's in his house and he's making like heart-shaped cookies because Valentine's Day is coming up, and he's making heart-shaped cookies for an open house he's going to do, and he's going to take them to the office and he's going to give it to all these people. And then he has like someone who he speaks to at work who is like a co-worker, and she's having like, motivation issues, and he's giving her like a pep talk about how you can always just be where you want to be in life and all that kind of stuff. And then he goes into his office, and as he goes into his office, where he has one of these offices that nobody else can see from outside. He goes to his office and he immediately gets knocked out. Then he wakes up with a knife in his hand, like it's pinning his hand to his table, and a guy there reading poetry to him. So if you've seen The History of Violence, you can understand that he is not just a realtor. He had a previous life. And then his previous life is coming back to catch up with him. He used to be an assassin for some sort of gang, and now all the other assassins are coming after him because it turns out that there was someone he was supposed to kill a while back that he didn't kill. Ensue what they hope are shenanigans. Now, you now this is a film, right? That the first point I would make is that a film with that kind of premise, unless it's going to be like A History of Violence and it's going to be mega serious, it needs some wit. This is a kind of film that needs wit to actually. It needs wit. It needs humor. It needs zippiness. This has none of that. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It's like the tone is all over the shop. There's bits where it's kind of like, okay, where Ki Hugh Kwan's there was like, okay, cool, we're gonna go for a comedy thing. And there's sometimes where within the same scene you have different actors who seem to think that this is a different film from the one like they all think they're in a different film. This one's playing it for comedy. This one's being all kind of serious and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like, the number of times I said, what the fill in the blank while watching this film. And I mean, it's the thing about it is, I think the biggest thing that lets this film down is just the film craft. You know, when you are watching a film, you know it's bad when you're thinking about how they recorded the sound.
Yeah, when you start analysing the technicalities of it.
No, yeah, I know that is my bent. That's my bent anyway, because obviously what I do, I make social media, I make video content for people. So that's like adjacent to filmmaking. So I'm always looking at, hang on a second, I can see they did the reverse shot over his shoulder. Oh, that means his mouth isn't synced up with what he's saying and everything like that. But the film craft is just lazy. You know how you watch a film and there is sometimes you have like a big scene and then you have like a filler scene in the middle that links to another scene, and you kind of wonder what was that scene there in the middle for? And the only reason that scene was there was to link scene A and scene B. That's the only reason that scene was there. This entire film is made up of scenes like that. Like there's scenes that just keep happening. You're like, what the heck was the point of that? Why did that happen? What was that doing there? And you will find yourself saying that over and over and over again. I mean, I am convinced that they did not have a script for this before they shot it. And which is weird, because Ki Hu Kwan says that what attracted him was like, they thought the script was really, really good. But there's so many places of what you call ADR, like additional dialogue recording, where you can see that they've gone in afterwards to record it. So, I mean, if you ever watch this film, which I will not recommend, if you ever watch this film, just look at the number of times where people are having dialogue scenes where the camera is behind the person who's speaking. The camera is behind the person who's speaking, so it's kind of like you can see that what they said is they went, okay, we didn't film this on the day, so come back in and we're just gonna have that, and we're just gonna say this over the back, and then Key, while you're facing away from the camera, we're gonna say this, and that happened so many times. It's happened so many times that I was like, you know what? I know I have this whole thing about over analyzing films, but I think even if you were not me, you would notice that. That was so bad. Even right at the beginning of the film, because you have Ariana DeBose, who is, and she has this whole thing where she's a bit where she's writing something with a marker, and they have this sort of like, this sort of giggly thing, like a giggly voice going over, and you see it from the back. And I'm like, okay, if you're giggling like that, your shoulders would be moving, wouldn't they? Or something. And I'm just like, oh my God, this film is just, it's just so badly made. It's so, and this is from the team that brought you John Wick. So even the action scenes, you think that, and there are some good action scenes in it. I mean, the first one with Ki Hu Kwan and Mustafa Shakir, that is a good one. That's a good one. But after that, it just becomes like action for action's sake. And whenever they try and do action that doesn't involve Ki Hu Kwan, it doesn't work. Like there's a scene that they have where they try and give Ariana DeBose an action thing to do. And oh my God, it sucks. It is so, and the performances, there's an actor called Cam Giganet.
He was in Twilight, wasn't he? That's why he's most famous.
Yeah, he was. And I've never actually heard his name said out loud. But
I don't think I have.
Yeah, and he, honestly, his performance, when I talk about people being in different films, he is in a panto. He is 100% in a panto. Oh, good Lord. It needs invention, it needs wit, but it doesn't have either of that. It's just turgid. The film is turgid. It's only an hour and a half. It feels a lot longer. And yeah, and I am really, oh my God. Oh, sorry, I just saw a note I made while I was watching the film. Voiceovers. There's so much voiceover in this film. And voiceover can be used well, or it can be used lazily as a crutch for somebody who didn't know what they were doing. And this is the latter. It's like, and the voiceover keeps flitting between different people as well. I'm like, oh my God, they didn't know what they were doing when they made this film, and they tried to fix everything in post. And I feel really sorry for Ariana DeBose, because I know she sort of came to a lot of major prominence when she was in West Side Story.
Yeah, West Side Story is a big one I think of her as.
Yeah, and I don't think she's made any good films since.
No, they haven't used her well afterwards, have they?
Either they haven't used her well, or she hasn't chosen properly, or
her agent has been steering her in the wrong direction.
Her agent has, excuse me, but screwed her over. Because she hasn't, and this film has 2 Oscar winners in it, because he has Ki Hu Kwan, who won for Everything Anywhere All at Once, and Ariana DeBose. They both won in the supporting actor category, and these were 2 Oscars. It can be a kiss
of death for some careers, though, can't it?
It can.
How many people have won the best supporting, and then that's it? They just go. Bleh.
And after that, Hollywood doesn't know what to do with them. And these were 2 Oscar wins that I was okay with. I was not too enamored with the performances, but I was okay with, because of what they meant in the wider cultural thing. And the further away from the Oscar wins they get, it begins to look like they were a little bit tokenism, because they haven't given, especially Ariana DeBose, anything good to do. So I cannot recommend this film with any good conscience. The only reason I will recommend this film is because misery loves company. I want someone to come join me and
Really was
complain
that bad.
and whinge and say, yes, Tosin, you're not crazy. It really is that bad. and I cannot give this above a 2. I cannot give this film above a 2-star. And I could keep going on and on and on and on, but I'm going to stop now. And we're going to go over to Netflix and Friends. And Sharon, I'm going to say, tell us about Elevation, please.
Yeah, Elevation is a alien invasion film in the vein of Quiet Place type things,
Yep.
where when you first are introduced to the scene, you don't see the actual invasion, you are witnessing the aftermath of it. So we are living in a world 3 years after an invasion.
Yes.
And one of the characteristics of these invading creatures, and their creatures, is that they appeared to come from nowhere. They appeared out of these like boreholes in the ground or these subterranean areas. And people said, "Oh, they've been here for a long time, and they've just emerged from the depths."
Mm-hmm.
But as you sort of see them, you're thinking they just don't look anything like relates to anything else of the Earth. So they look alien.
Yeah.
And the one thing about them is they cannot go above 7,000 meters above sea level.
Yeah.
7,000 feet, sorry, 7,000 feet above. There's a difference, quite a big difference. So 7,000 feet above sea level, they can't cross that point.
Yeah.
So humanity has been absolutely stripped from the earth, apart from these heights. And you have these communities where people have had to flee to the high places. So there are some countries that have just been completely denuded of people.
Yeah.
And presumably the British Isles are like that, because I don't think we've got any mountains above 7,000 feet. So presumably we don't hear about the rest of the world, but you assume that, we're all gone.
Yes.
But in America, we have an area, obviously there's the Rocky Mountains, and there's that seam of mountains that run all down that sort of Midwest to the west. The continental divide, I think you call it, isn't it? It's there. That's where we see this group of humanity, where Anthony Mackie lives.
Yes.
And he had fled there a number of years ago with his wife and his son, and his son has some medical issues, and he is running out of supplies. So he has to go below the deadline, or whatever the line is called, below the line.
Yes.
He can find these supplies. And so this story is, and the adventure he goes on with his 2 companions. One is his friend from up the heights, who basically wants to sort of try her hand at sort of surviving with him, to support him and to survive. And the other one is a scientist who has been trying to work on a plan to see if you can destroy these monsters.
As the blurb says on Amazon Prime, it's like a scientist who he cannot stand.
Yeah, they have this sort of bickering relationship, but that's a bit of a front, don't you? It always is. And so,
I mean, well done for watching this film, but it's kind of like one of the things where I read the blurb and I thought, I think I know what this is. So
yeah. There's nothing new. I don't think anything new under the sun. The only thing interesting is the post-credit scene would lend you to think that there might be a sequel, or that it might be part of something bigger.
Yeah.
But as that said, it is your standard fare of your Quiet Place, where you've got limited cast doing lots of things, and you have these moments of like sort of these action scenes where you have these confrontations with the creatures.
Oh, so is this another film that is like, is this more fuel to I was going to say our theory, but really it's my theory that we're seeing a lot of films that were made quickly after the actors strike, where they were like, we don't need that many people, we can shoot it with a skeleton crew, go.
Yeah, so this is basically the 3 of them. You get the odd person who has the odd line to say, but the majority of the film, it is just the 3 people in it. So yeah, I think it absolutely fits within that. You could write it all down very simply, the whole story.
And also there is the cynical bit of me that sort of looks at it and goes, I wonder why this film is being released now, that we have Captain America starring Anthony Mackie coming around the corner, and all of a sudden some random film starring Anthony Mackie shows up on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and I think the lady who plays the scientist, I remember her playing Diana in the reboot of V.
Yes. Morena
Very
Baccarin.
short hair then, but she's got long black hair
Yeah,
now.
Marina Baccarin.
That's
So
it.
yeah,
That's
who
what I
you know?
recognise her from. Because you look at her thinking, she were in something else, but that's one I remember you from.
Oh, she is kind of like almost a genre. She was in Homeland. She was in Firefly. I think Firefly was like the
Firefly, yes, she was.
Firefly was the first time where a lot of the world got introduced to her, and
Yeah.
it's yeah, and she showed up in like the V stuff. Like she showed up in different things. She's in Deadpool. She's in the Deadpool movies. Um,
You are
um,
right, she is.
yes, as
Yes, I
Vanessa.
knew her. When how you're thinking, what have I know you from? What do I know you
It's like,
from?
where have
Loads
I
of
seen
things.
you before?
So it was, yeah, so it was your standard, I would say, post Alien Invasion film. It's become something of a trope, I think.
It
But
has become, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I think it falls in the give it 6 months, we won't remember it thing. So, so for that, I thought it was fine for your what it was, but yeah, it's never going to be anything other than a three. And
Yeah.
it was a flat three. It's like I don't think it would ever be more than that. It never could be more than that. But for what it was, yeah, it's a three. But Anthony Mackie, he's likable, isn't he? So you watch it, the other characters, you think you're falling into tropes. You're like, oh, we need this person, we need this person. If we're going to have three, we need to have this dynamic. And so it's a little bit by the numbers, I
You
thought.
know, it's funny you say that about Anthony Mackie because I I find it really hard to warm to Anthony Mackie. I don't. Yeah, I there's something in there, and especially now because of the fact that we have a black Captain America, and I know a big part about this new Captain America movie, New World Order, is going to be about the fact that people are having issues with there being a black Captain America. So very very topical, and so I'm like kind of like yeah cool, but at the same time I kind of look at him and I kind of go. I don't think he's that charismatic. I don't think he's that
No.
charismatic, and there's something I find a little wooden about him. Like where I'll tell you, for instance, right? You know when you talk about bantering, you spoke about bantering between
Yeah.
his character in this film and Morena Baccarin's character.
Yeah.
I don't think he does banter well. Like I remember seeing the TV show Falcon and Winter Soldier, and there was supposed to be this sort of
Yeah.
like bantering back and forth thing between him and Bucky, and it fell flat every single time. But every
No, he
film he's
does
in,
serious better. Yeah.
yeah. But every single film I've seen him in, he's trying to do the bantering thing, and the
Yeah.
problem is that you see him trying, and I feel like that like there's something I just don't get from him. There's something I really
Yeah.
just don't get from him, and I actually was doing some which and it felt a bit treacherous earlier this week. I was like, no, let's see. Is it me or is it just that I can't just accept a black guy as heroic? But I'm like, no, but that isn't true because I love Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, and I'm like, so who would I have had like as Captain America or as Sam Wilson? And I was like, no, if we had Sterling K. Brown, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, no, yeah, I just don't like Anthony Mackie. I might have a bit like how Sean has his thing with Stanley Tucci. Not as bad as
Yeah.
that because
No.
Sean,
He has a bit of a
Sean,
knee jerk one, like someone's tested his reflexes, and you get that. You.
Sean just has this irrational hatred of Stanley
Yeah.
Tucci. I was like, and it's not as bad as that, and I was speaking to superfan Nina about it, and she was like saying the same thing as well. That there's just something. Either there's just something about him, or there just isn't something about him.
Yeah.
Depending on how you look at, but yeah, but I'm happy. I'm really happy that you say at least that he's likable,
Yeah.
because I just find him a really really hard screen presence to warm to, and on that treacherous note,
We'll move on to cinema.
on that treacherous note, I'm
Another
gonna go
highlight of the week.
gotta go back to cinemas. Gotta go another highlight. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my god, yes. I went to see this. This was a preview screening. It was one of those things where it was a secret screening because obviously when you have an unlimited card at there's quite a few cinema changes and they have like some version of an unlimited card. And with this, sometimes they give you a secret screening. They say, "Come have this film." You don't know what film it is, just come in. So I booked it, and they did tell you that it was a horror. They told you it was a horror. And before even I walked in, I was like, "I think this is Heart Eyes," because I'd seen things. I seen a post about heart eyes. I said I think this is heart eyes, and sure enough, it kicked up on his heart eyes. This was my second disappointment in the week. This was this was like the when you're sitting in the cinema, you're like, why am I here? I could be at home. I could be with my family.
I saw it into the trailer. I saw the poster, and I was just like, no.
It's so bad that I got out of the cinema and I had to text everybody on I watched Netflix cinema group and be like, oh my god, this is terrible. I need to vent. And so that might be all you need to know about this film. But let me soldier and try to tell you. Let me try to tell you. So this film kicks off, and it kicks off here, and you're in a vineyard, and there's a woman there, and there's people who are dressed to be very sort of like Instagram influencer archetype. The woman is wearing a hat and all that, and you can see that then they're like, oh, this is wonderful, Valentine's Day together and all that kind of stuff. He pours her some champagne, and he feeds her strawberries, and then as she eats the strawberry, she kind of goes, and she takes some out of her mouth and she says, I told you not to put it in my food. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. And it turns out that this is actually it's like an engagement proposal, but it's a very Instagram engagement proposal where he gets down, he kneels, he says, will you be my wife? She goes, yes, yes, yes. And then he gets a phone call and he picks it up, and there's a camera hiding in the woods, or a cameraman hiding in the woods saying, sorry, I didn't get it. And it's like, could you propose again? And so they go and do this thing, and then some person shows up in a mask that has hearts for eyes and kills them all. Hence the name Heart's Eyes.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
I know. And I feel like this was essentially, I was watching this film going, hasn't this been made before? Isn't My Funny Valentine like My Bloody Valentine? My Bloody Valentine is like a horror movie about somebody who kills people on Valentine's Day and everything. And so unfolds a film in which you have this whole thing. You have somebody called the Heart Eyes Killer. The Heart Eyes Killer who goes around and he kills people on Valentine's Day. He kills couples on Valentine's Day. And has been going across the country. A couple of years ago it was Boston, then it was somewhere else, and now we are in, I cannot even remember, I can't be bothered, I think Seattle. And then you meet this woman who works for a diamond company. She's recently been dumped by her boyfriend, and she goes to, essentially what they're trying to do with this film is that they're trying to merge a rom-com and a slasher movie. That's the big premise of this film. So there's a meet cute that she has with this guy. There's a meet cute she has with this guy in a cafe, and they're all like, oh, and it's all like eyes and like, oh my god, oh yeah, he's so cute, and then she gets to work, she gets chewed out by her boss, and then it turns out that the guy she met in the cafe is the guy who's been brought in to fix a problem at work, so essentially to take her job. And he recommends that they meet up at a restaurant. They meet up at a restaurant to discuss their campaign and all that kind of stuff. Her friend is like, "Oh my God, he's so into you!" Blah 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 blah. So much rom-com stuff, and this film doesn't work. It just doesn't work because they try and hit all the points of a romantic comedy because one of the writers is Christopher Landon, who did Freaky, where they merged a slasher movie with a Freaky Friday premise. And he also did Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You, where they merged a slasher movie with Groundhog Day. Yeah, with a time loop movie. And so this isn't him directing, but he wrote it. And it's them trying to merge a rom-com, and it follows all the beats of a rom-com with a slasher movie. And this film is not nearly silly enough or out there enough or heightened enough to do it. So there's bits where you're like, is this supposed to be a slasher movie? Well, it's failing at that. It is so predictable. Like, there is no beat in this film that will surprise you. There is no, it's like, who's the killer? Oh, well, that was a surprise. Ooh, why is he getting in that car with that person? I wonder what's going to happen to him. It's like, this police station got go. We saw everybody but one person get attacked by the killer and actually saw a dead body. I wonder who the person who isn't dead is. The person who we didn't see die is. And it's just kind of, it's so predictable. It's so stupid. There are a couple of bits. There's a bit with an American flag where you can feel it beginning to touch what it was going for, but they don't last. They do not last. It just kind of like, and it's like all the air goes out of the souffle. It all just collapses, and we're back in some horrible mismatch of a movie where they keep doing
Mhm.
stupid things. I mean, there's a bit of me that almost there's a slightly sadistic bit of me that wants Sean to watch this because because I think Sean might blow up. I think Sean. I think
I can
Sean.
just picture him sat up, just twitching, fidgeting. Yeah, I'd
No,
like him to go, but I won't go. It might be if he goes to the secret. There's a secret screaming on the island, and if he goes to that, it probably will be. We've often found they're the same films, aren't they?
yeah, yeah. I think if he'd gone to a secret screening this week, it would have been Heart Eyes
It'd
because
be
it's being
hard.
released. It's being released obviously on Valentine's Day because
Yeah,
that's. I think that's the big marketing thing. Ooh, Valentine's Day, the Heart Eyes killer. Ooh. And I'm like, I cannot be bothered. This
yeah.
sucks.
The way you, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the rom com is stupid. There's bits where it's like, for instance, there's a dash to the airport. There's a dash to the airport that is in such a place that is so stupid and like. And obviously, I can't tell you more because it will be a bit of a spoiler as to it. But it's like the place they put it in. You're kind of like, why are you even doing this? Even within the world of the movie, that makes no sense. Within the world of the movie, that is like dashing to the airport, going like, I'm like, you don't know where he's going, what flight he's getting on. You know nothing, and you just run into the
You're going to
airport.
randomly run around an airport looking.
Yeah, there's bits where people are trying to run away from a killer, and then they stop to have a conversation. It's uh, just no. It's a two. It's a two. Stay away from her eyes, please. Save yourself. And the only
Run,
thing,
don't walk, and don't trip up when you're running. That's easy.
yeah, I'm just don't. When you go watch it, you understand because there's sometimes when you have like when someone starts to tell you what was so bad about it, and it's a spoiler to tell you what's so bad about it. But if you go see it, I would be really really surprised if you did not agree with me.
Yeah.
It's two stars, but the only thing I would say is Olivia Holt, who plays the main character in this. Olivia Holt. I kept looking at her, going, her face is a very weird. Well, it's a very subtle mix of Merritt Weaver and Julia Stiles, and I cannot understand. I cannot
Mhm.
explain it. Yeah, honestly, when you see her on screen, because from some certain picture angles, she doesn't look like that. But when she's actually acting and moving and everything like that, I'm like, that's Merritt Weaver's chin. But that's Julia Stiles' forehead. What is going? And I had to go out and see whether she was related to either of them. Turns out she isn't. And but yeah, and I'll be interested to see if anybody else thinks that.
Yeah.
But that is the most interesting thing about this film. So, so let's leave that where it is, and let's forget about cinema this week. It was a bad week, and let's go on to Earth Abides. So, tell us, what was it about Earth Abides that made you think, you know what, is worth it cracking out the free trial on MGM Plus?
It's because of a book. It's an adaptation of the book Earth Abides by, I think it's George R. Stewart, if I get the name right, that was published in 1947.
All
And
right.
it is one of those, if you look up sort of American post-apocalyptic fiction, it's the one you have to read basically, and it's sort of comparable to a British science fiction like The Death of Grass and
Okay.
John Wyndham, post-apocalyptic ones. It's in that sort of world post-war where a lot of science fiction writers were looking at the state of the world and
Yeah.
then sort of writing this speculative fiction.
Yeah.
And if it's like you're like Christopher Paul, you descend into savagery because you've just seen it
Mm-hmm.
and you've seen what the world is capable of, or as has some people dismissed some of John Wyndham's novels as a cozy catastrophe that
Mm.
people maintain their manners even when the world falls apart. And
Yeah.
this one is sort of a combination of those two. It's set in modern day. But I'm always wanting to do like a compare and contrast with the book because it's what the book was what drew me to it.
Yeah.
So a brief synopsis of the book. The book, post-war, 1947, a young man is in the mountains and he's aware of some sort of disturbance going on and he sort of comes down out of the mountains. He sort of gets he gets bitten by a snake And then he fights off the fever caused by this snake bite. And then when he emerges, he goes down the mountain, not knowing, hearing anything or seeing another map, and he finds that the world has changed. And so,
this this sounds like we're back in Elevation.
yes, it's exactly the same. Yeah, two they are. We could do a compare and contrast between the two of them as well. But yeah, the world has been changed, but it's this time it's an illness. It's a pandemic that has swept around the globe, and but it has been far more devastating than anything we've seen for centuries. It's reduced the population to 1 or 2% of what it was. So you have literally had millions and upon millions of people have died. And it is about how this young man, his name is Isherwood or Ish,
Oh yeah,
he the theme of the book is the death of civilization, is the death of one civilization, and what happens when one civilization dies before the birth of the next. It's that
oh
between times. That's the main themes of the book. And there's lots of symbolism, like they use the Golden Gate Bridge as a symbol of the old civilization. And as it the book progresses, you see it deteriorates and it falls apart. And
yeah,
Isherwood, he is the last American, and he often talks about he tries to preserve his culture. He tries to teach them how to read. His family. He has a children and he has a family, and he
yeah,
tries to farm. He tries to take the pieces of civilization that he knows and try to pass it on to the next generation. But they're not having any of it. They're just not interested. And when he tries to tell them about what it means to be an American, they don't get it because to hear them, it's just like a word. And so
yeah,
he becomes known as like the last American because
yeah,
he's the last person of their community who identifies that way. And
yeah.
so it's about the death of a civilization in the book. So we then jump 50 years ahead and they've got a new adaptation of it on the television. So it's a post pandemic world, obviously, because they referenced the COVID pandemic in it, because
Oh
it's
okay.
a modern thing. And they say it was nothing like that last one. But this one, you have Isherwood is again, but this time he's a geology student looking at rock formations up in the mountains above, well, the sort of highlands in Northern California. And he gets bitten by a snake and he retreats to his cabin and people try to get him to leave, but they think he's basically ill with this virus, so they
Yeah,
leave him there. Then he recovers from the virus, but same thing, he emerges into society, goes back home to find that everyone is dead, there's just no
yeah.
one around. And he tries to find other survivors but can't find anyone. He meets a couple who are like living in like Las Vegas and basically sort of living in this sort of nihilistic last days, how they fulfill all their fantasies before they decide that the world is dead, there's no point carrying on, we're just going to do our fantasies, we're going to do everything we want to do, rob banks, we're going to do gamble and live hidden head in Italy. But and
Yeah.
he's like, no, I think we can, there has got to be more of this. So he meets a woman and then they form their own community. And then
And I'm guessing this is a TV series.
a TV series over 6 parts, and then
Okay.
you
Oh,
see
all right.
how you see how he forms his community, how you get conflict. So there's certain things that happen from the books that they do copy across. There's conflicts where there's another group of people. This conflict arises when you get two completely opposing views of what a leader should be and what a leader can be, and then
It's
relationships with how much of the past you bring forward with you, how much of the things you try to save, what you preserve, what you have to leave behind, and
it's
interesting.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie. It's setting off my Walking Dead alarm.
Yeah, but it's not. It's very much more enclosed than that. It's this one community,
Okay.
but the enemy was the disease. It was no, there was no. But
All
yeah,
right.
there's elements to it about this other people coming in. But I personally, I thought I like if I looked at it on its own, I think it was fair. It was an adequate program. It was like fair enough, but didn't actually shed any. Wasn't anything ground shaking. But if you compare it to the book, I think they just missed a trick because I found in this they work out how to set up solar panels, so they've got
Yes.
electricity.
Yeah.
They work out how to do like a gravity pump, so they've got running water.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the death of a civilization, one of the make themes of the book is, in 2 or 3 generations, you're going to be hunter gatherers again.
Yeah.
You cannot you can't forge steel, you can't weave cloth, you don't know, you forget how to
You've
end
forgotten. You've forgotten a lot of the basic things that actually build a
yeah
civilization.
when you lose some of these things that you rely upon, you can't actually pick up the pieces of your old civilization. You more or less regress back to almost like hunter gatherers, which is
Yeah.
what happens in the book. His grandchildren were wearing animal skins, and they live almost like a nomadic existence. Whereas in the end of the book, they're living in a town with electricity, running water, and they're still wearing like the clothes that they've scavenged.
At the end of the TV series.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think you've learned nothing from the stories of the book. You've learned none of the lessons of the book about this whole thing about what happens when civilizations die.
Is it one of those things where they essentially just took the basic premise and went, and we're going to take the basic premise and we're going to make something generic that we think people want to watch?
And we're not going to worry about the things like, because in things like keeping the calendar. They only do that for a couple of years because everyone says, why? What does it matter?
Yeah.
And now but in this they keep the calendar. They mark the years, and in the book they stop marking the years. There's no point. And in this they like grow crops, and in the book obviously they give up growing crops because none of the young people are interested. They can just hunt animals and eat meat. So I think they missed a trick. It was okay, but I think they just dropped the ball on it in terms of adapting a book. So I would give it.
So I was just thinking. I wonder how these things get made. Like, why does
It's a very
MG?
well-known book in America. I think it's like one of the West. Like if you say Day of the Triffids to a British person, most of them have an idea what it's about. I think if you probably said to an American Earth Abides, they'd probably have an idea what it's about.
Yeah, but for instance, Day of the Triffids, you say that, and the BBC are going to go and they're going to throw money to make Day of the Triffids. And they're going to put it somewhere so everybody knows they've made Day of the Triffids.
Yeah.
This is on MGM Plus, which is a streaming service that most people do not know exists. I can guarantee that. They do not know exists. And so that makes me think that the people who made this must not have spent that much money on it. And
the only cast member that I knew was Alexander Ludwig, who plays Isherwood Ish. I know him from Vikings. He was Björn. Björn from Vikings. He's the only one I knew in it.
Yeah.
But there are probably some other faces that you pop up and think, I sort of know who they are.
I sort of know who they are, but I just don't know how things.
And they haven't they haven't explored the world. You see there's a lot of stock footage where you see like flocks returning, but most of it is like filmed, I would say, probably in the hills of Northern California. So you go like you've got the woods, you've got and then you've got like matte shots of the city sort of disintegrating. So I would probably say yes, it was probably on a more limited budget. It wasn't vast.
Yeah.
But
anyway, sorry, you were going to say how many stars?
Television fair, as an adaptation of the book, I'd give it 2. 1 or 2, because I just think they missed the point of the book. They've missed it. But as a television series, you pick up and watch, it's fine. It was okay. But yeah, and you wouldn't be left thinking, wow, that really would make me think about the nature of civilization. No.
Yeah. At the beginning, when you were talking about the themes of the book, I almost said, I was like, ooh, that sounds like some heavy themes to try and carry in a TV series.
Yeah, and they don't bother.
So they were like, yeah, it's a good name. Let's use the name. Yeah, we're going to use the name.
And there's some of the basic things. Yeah, it's like, if you've got like those nuances, let's just keep it with the top bit. Let's just leave it with the surface stuff. So I'd say 2 as an adaptation, 2 as an adaptation, 3 as a just come in cold, it's fine. Enjoy it, forget about it.
As you can see, we have had a rip-roaring week of viewing. It has been amazing. It has been inspirational. Why the heck do we make TV shows and films? Yeah. So anyway, before we talk about we could do a cultural exchange. You can talk about something that I've watched and I reviewed, and I can talk about something that you've watched and you reviewed.
Good.
Yes. So, but first of all, who do you think has won this week?
I think by a squeaking whisper. It's streaming.
It is streaming, and I cannot believe it was that close because I came in today thinking I've had such a bad week. I know that I've watched the bulk of the things that we're going to bring here for cinema. That, oh my God, Netflix is just going to win. And I can't believe that we set a low bar and let Netflix try to limbo under it. Actually, It's not fair to say Netflix because none of the shows we actually spoke to you about today was a Netflix show. But streaming's representatives this week tried to limber over the low underneath the low bar which set it. But
Yeah.
anyway, so we're talking
Yeah.
about the cultural exchange. You went to see September 5, which I reviewed last week, and this week I watched Unbelievable, which you reviewed years ago.
A while back, yes. That was the drama about the girl who had been raped, hadn't she? And no one
Yes.
believed the story. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was about that. It was about that. I don't know why on earth. Oh, I have. Oh, okay, I'll just start talking about that. I have an idea why it started because Caitlin Dever, who is in that, she was in she's in a new TV show called Apple Cider Vinegar. And Apple Cider Vinegar is about this woman called Belle Gibson, who was an Australian influencer who claimed she had cancer when she didn't, and built an entire empire over the fact that she had cured herself by healthy living. And people followed her, and people stopped taking their medication because they wanted to
Yeah.
actually have a lifestyle and all that kind of stuff. I have seen a BBC documentary about that, and so I didn't feel like I needed to watch the TV show because I knew exactly what was going to happen. So, but I thought, well, Caitlin Dever, I want to watch something. Oh yeah, Caitlin Dever was in that show that Sharon reviewed years ago, and I never actually watched it. And it had Merritt Weaver, her again, is in it. I was like, oh yeah, let's watch that. While I'm like, while I'm having my daughter who's refusing to sleep, I said, so I watched Unbelievable, and Sharon, everything you said about it was great. I mean, it is because it's based on an article. I'm not sure if you ever read the article,
No.
but I went and did one of those Wikipedia rabbit hole things and going TV show based on article, and I read the article, and oh my word, when you read the article, because it's like a very sort of like investigative journalist thing done, you realize what they were doing with this show, because this show is so faithful to the article, like all the way down to, but they changed names and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but there are lines of dialogue in the show that are verbatim taken from the article, and you can see that they were so concerned about representing this properly and looking and doing right by the women who had been assaulted in this, that I was like, I think reading the article just makes you have even more respect for the people who made this show, because they took their time. They were meticulous. Because the whole show, it's 8 episodes of you just watching them do their police work and how they go about it and the lucky breaks they get and the painstaking stuff they have to do to actually figure out where there's a link with this thing to that thing to actually finally catch a serial rapist. And I thought the show was great. I thought the way they did the show as well, because there's 2 different timelines in it. And there was a bit where I was really, really, really worried that somebody from one timeline was not going to get to survive until the other timeline. I was really worried about that. So I thought, I think everything you said about it was great. It was brilliant. But it's also one of those things that shows you about the sort of never-ending nature of stuff, where that was brilliant, that was good, that won awards, we've forgotten about it.
Yeah. But as soon as you mentioned it, I remembered it. I think, yes, I remember the scenes, the actresses, the power of it. But if you said to me Unbelievable, I'd be like, what? But then as soon as you said, I was like, yes, I know the one. Yeah, because it's almost like the reliable versus the unreliable witness, wasn't it? How how memory is not is flawed. How
the first
all these things,
episode.
there's so many things. So good drama.
The first episode is like a horror film, because and it's a horror film not because of the attack, because they try not to they try and show as little as they have to with the attacks and stuff. But it's what happens afterwards and the way the police go about doing the first 2 episodes are like a contrast, because there's an assault in both episodes, and the way it's treated by the police, where in one case it happens to be male police officers and the other case happens to be female police officers.
Yeah.
It is just like it is
heartbreaking. We
heartbreaking.
know now that how witnesses make their statements is that your memory is not memory change. They can be influenced, and what you think is, when people say you'd never forget something like that, it's like, well, people do.
I've forgotten this morning. I mean, if you ask me to remember what happened today, I would have trouble.
And when someone writes it down and says, "But you've just said you did this or this happened," and
Uh,
then it's like, "Oh, but I
oh,
can't remember." It's like, surely you'd remember. You've just had this traumatic experience. It's like that's not
oh.
how human memories. And yeah, so it's a really really good drama.
It's a great show. So Unbelievable. It's on there on Netflix somewhere. Go pick it up. So September 5. What did you think?
Yeah, no, all the things you said about it, about that almost like that claustrophobic atmosphere, that tension, that sort of that feeling of the ticking clock. But what I really liked it actually was actually the color palette and the feel of it. You know, that slightly grainy feel that you are
It
looking at.
felt like the 70s.
It felt like the 70s, and you where they had merged some of the scenes. You know, where you had like the
Uh,
real footage,
yeah, where they had the
and then
real
they
footage with the people behind. Yeah, that was really
yeah,
good. Yeah,
and the way they worked that, I just thought that is just top notch.
yeah, yeah.
And I did know how the story ended, so I was thinking when they sort of certain scenes happened, I was like, I didn't think that's how it happened. I mean, I didn't read up about it before I went in there thinking I don't
Yeah,
want to do to be preempting what's going on. I want to be in the film
yeah,
afterwards. But in my head, I was thinking, I'm sure that isn't what I thought happened. And then as it unfolds, I'm like, yes, that's. But you can understand at the time of this unfolding drama.
yeah,
No, I
yeah,
thought they
yeah,
did it really well. I thought they all were note perfect. And all the characters in it, and those
yeah.
sort of tensions that were running through it. So like with the Frenchman and the German and the
Oh yeah.
Americans and
Oh
the,
yeah.
how they're all like treading these fine lines between cultural grudges
Yeah.
almost, like they all bear these sort of grudges, even though
Cultural grudges. The fact that when we're only what like 30 years removed from the Second World
yeah,
War, and yeah.
not and then they're talking about, well, your parents are still alive. It's like, yeah, you talk to a German, it's their parents.
Yes, their parents were alive when
Were
when
the
this stuff
ones that you're
happened. Yeah,
saying were the monsters. And
yeah,
it's like,
and there's oh man, the actress Leonie. I know her first name is Leonie.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
she's awesome. She's awesome. I think she's kind of like the heart of the film, quite
yeah, yeah.
frankly.
Yeah, that gives it that resonance. But you're like, yeah, you can feel how heartbreaking it would have been for Germans like her who are thinking,
Oh,
we
oh
we
yeah,
we're carrying this burden that it's not ours, but we are carrying it, and then this happens in
yeah.
our
It's like this happens on our watch. We're
yeah
trying to move away from this, and then this happens.
yeah yeah
Like yeah, you really feel like the I think her final scene of the film, where you can see her face. I mean, it's just
yeah.
a lot about her face, and
That
it's
whole like
just
see you tomorrow, and it's just like, oh, you
yeah.
just think, oh, what, yeah. So
She
I
just
thought it packed a punch, and I just thought, no, I thought it was really really well done,
yeah. All right,
really well
cool.
done.
That's all right, cool. Until next week, when we really, really, really hope that cinema bucks up its ideas. Because, because I don't think I can handle another week like this one. I really don't think I can. It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us.